Son, kids your age think they're invincible. And it holds them back, makes them careless. You hear it?
I do.
Were you nervous?
A little. Oh, crap! Oh my god! Oh my god! I can do this! You need something to punch.
This is the beginning of a long journey for you, son. The thing is, you're different. You actually are.
What up? Instagram, YouTube, IGTV, podcasting, massive. Hope everyone is well and of course literally doing well. Side note, I was off social for a couple of days because I was literally feeling sick. I had a head cold and a very sore throat and just low energy. So today I'm feeling like 99% better. My throat is kind of sorish to a degree, but I wanted to just get cracking on because I feel much better within the last 2 days. Side note, I think I've decided to put all of my future YouTube videos on my podcast. Just rip the audio from the video, intro, outro, pow, have it as a podcast, or take the dopest moments and just basically put an intro and outro, have it as a podcast. All of that to basically say I'll be doing more audio content. So what you just saw basically, and I hope you've seen this on YouTube because I'm worried that I might get a flag or, you know, quote unquote copyright restrictions for actually putting up this video on YouTube. Basically, if that's the case and you don't see the video that I'm speaking about, I'm going to link it right down here in the YouTube description bar. And of course, I'm speaking about the trailer for, of course, the teaser trailer for Image Comics, Amazon's new TV animated show, of course, Invincible. Just a side note, Invincible is one of my favorite comic books, period. It ran for 15 years with 144 issues. Side note, every time I used to go down to Forbidden Planet to actually grab a copy of Invincible, there was always about like, I don't know, like about 10, 15 issues or less. They never had more than that. And they never ever reprinted the issues, which is strange. It was one of the most popular comics. It used to sell out quickly. So it's one of my favorite comics. I love the trailer for a teaser trailer. It was very cool, very fun, very intense, and it had an emotional vibe to it. And of course, if you've read the comics like me, you understand the connection that I feel when I actually watch, this teaser trailer. The bit that you saw basically, you know, the guy's eyes popping up and his hair's getting crunched and getting destroyed. That's what Invincible is known for. It is the only comic book, in my opinion, I think that has started all of the so-called violence, because as Robert Kirkman was basically just stating in the panel, of course, when he showed us the teaser trailer, if you're having people combating and fighting, you have to have that implement of blood and guts, and that implement, it's real. It adds to, of course, the superhero genre. And how many times have we read comic books, or we've seen like superhero movies, they fight and there's no blood, there's no guts, there's nothing. It's just complete, okay, I'm a little bit beaten up, but there's nothing there. And if you're like Superman and you're fighting some serious dudes, or like you're the Hulk, if the Hulk was to literally punch someone for real, he would ram his hands through their chest and his blood would just gush out. But so Invincible is known for just hardcore brutality. It's a very brutal, it's a very, very brutal comic book. And that's what it's known for. But what's really dope about Invincible, and you can see the vibe in that particular trailer, is it's a very emotional family-based comic book. Meaning, whatever Mark Grayson, who's the main character, basically, whatever he does, the repercussions of his actions always basically cause a bit of drama, tension between, of course, his girlfriend, his dad, his family, and it makes him like he doesn't know what to do. He's a kid growing up with all of these powers. He's trying to live a normal life. He can't. He has issues with his dad, who, of course, at the beginning of the comics, he literally he gets sent down to Earth to conquer Earth, but because he falls in love with his mum, he calms down, relaxes. But then when his superiors and so forth say it's time for you to do your job, he actually tries to take over the planet, and the one person that pretty much goes up against him is his dad. And it's very emotional for him to go against his dad who actually brought him up, who taught him, who schooled him and so forth. And his dad is pretty much literally nearly kills him. He just batters him, like literally, to the point of where in the comics he can't kill his son. He just goes up to another planet, and then we see him further down the line. So that's pretty much the synopsis to a degree of what the show is about. But I love the emotional substance behind the show. Behind the comics, and you can see that basically in the show. It's just an amazing comic book. I would recommend Invincible to every single person out there. You know, I love it. It is literally one of my favorite superhero comics. It ran, like I said, for 15 years, 144 issues, and I was like, oh man, I never wanted that book to end, and I really hope that Robert Kirkman would actually keep that universe actually alive. But you know, we've heard nothing so far, so I'm looking forward to seeing basically that universe expanding even more, possibly, and of course in the TV show, meaning of course things that weren't possibly covered in the comics might actually come to life, or just more character development, and of course they have to change it up because they won't keep it as the comics, because everyone would guess and understand and know, and there'll be no point in actually people watching the show. But I do like Mark Grayson. I do like him. It's he's a very nice guy. He's such a nice guy, and he always consistently tries to do the right thing over and over, and I think that's his detriment in the comics, because he tries to do the right thing, and sometimes it just doesn't work out for him, and then he basically gets basically in trouble by his parents, by his wife, and so forth. And like, it's just the whole emotional aspect of it. Like I said, it is a family-based. It's not family-based like a family show where it's like Guardians of the Galaxy, or like you're watching Marvel's Agents of Shield. Like I'm speaking about the comics. It's not like reading a Spider-Man comic. When I mean it's a family-friendly comic book, but there's a lot of emotional drama that is embedded within this particular show, and as I can see from that trailer, and of course in the comics. But it's literally one of the best comic books on the planet, and I really hope this show sparks basically the intent for Robert Kirkman to actually bring the comic book back. And I really wish that happens, and I think eventually it will, because it's a book that can go on forever and ever and ever. And you know, the Viltrumites, one second, because I always forget basically the powers, not the powers, but here we go, Mark Grayson powers, because I want to be politically correct when I say basically. Okay, cool. So let me give you the powers of the Viltrumites. So Mark Grayson, superhuman strength, agility, resilience, stamina, flight, extended lifespan, and healing factor enhanced. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, the healing factor is just insane. It's insane. It's like they heal. It's funny because what's really real about Invincible in the comics, compared to other comic books and movies. Like, for example, when Deadpool, for example, uses his healing factor, he regenerates quickly. Wolverine regenerates quickly. They take time in Invincible. Sometimes they take months, years. If they're completely battered and shattered, they go through some serious. It takes them months, years, regarding how detrimental and the impact of the fight, and how they're left bloody, bruised, eyeballs out, stomach destroyed, intestines coming out. It takes them months, years, and so forth. And it just adds more realism to it. And one thing that adds the realism to Invincible is Ryan Otley's artwork. He's an amazing artist. He's currently working now on The Amazing Spider-Man with Nick Spencer, which is a total read. Was a total dope read. And the reason I'm saying that, is because Nick Spencer really adds realism through his thoughts, through the way he thinks, and I love him as a writer. And Ryan Otley really adds that element of Invincible to Spider-Man, meaning, of course, when you see Spider-Man punch, when he's flying, like when he's web slinging, or he's fighting, you can see that realism, that oomph, that piece of that essence of blood. It's just really real, and I love the fact that Ryan Otley basically is of course involved in this TV show, as Robert Kirkman just said in the panel. And of course I'm going to link the panel right down here basically for the YouTube massive, and of course for the IGTV massive if you haven't seen the Invincible panel. And of course if you listen to this on a podcast, very, very simply just type in Invincible Image Panel or Invincible Panel Image Comics and you get the panel with Robert Kirkman, or just type in Invincible Image NYCC, because the panel was of course on NYCC. Of course, I'm speaking of New York Comic Con, but he adds so much realism to it. So it's really a well put together show. I look forward to seeing all of the characters that I love from the comics basically in the show. Monster Girl, I can't wait to see her. Rex, I can't wait to see Rex. Omni-Man, I can't wait to of course see Omni-Man, because he's a very well dope character. Tharag, who's literally one of the most, he's like in the comics when Mark goes up against him, right? No, they're in space. It's Mark, Omni-Man, which is Mark's dad, and they're basically going to take on Tharag, or Tharag wants to talk to them. And then Mark says to him, Dad, how can we beat him? And then his dad says, you can't beat him. This guy, Tharag, he was trained from birth to take out anyone. He's like the Invincible Image Comics version of Thanos to a degree. He is brutal, like 100% brutal. Speaking about Tharag, here's some pics basically of Tharag. So there's this one right here where he's this guy completely bananas and just literally he's put his hand through someone's stomach. Like, and this is how deep and violent the comics are. This is him taking out someone's head. Do you know what I'm trying to say? This is Mark getting totally destroyed and battered. The reason I put this out here is because I want you to see visually what the show is going to have. And the show is going to be mature. Robert Kirkman did say there's going to be violence when there needs to be violence, because Invincible isn't just violence. It's when they fight, there's violence. And it makes 100% sense. Like, and I've always said, when I saw, for example, Batman versus Superman, when Superman punched or threw Batman across the building, realistically, Batman should have had a broken everything, back, arm, whatever, but he was fine. So this is why I love Invincible, because it's so real in that particular element. It's just a well put together comic book, and it is literally the first comic that puts in that particular aspect of violence. And if you think you've seen it before, like Robert Kirkman said, you have not. Believe me, I implore everyone, regardless if you read comics or if you don't, check out the Invincible comics. It's such a dope read. The way I got put onto Invincible was, I was at work, shout to man like Leon, and so he said to me, yeah, bro, do you read Invincible? And I was like, nah. And then he said to me, it's from Image Comics. I was like, and back then I wasn't too sure about Image Comics. I mean, I knew who they were, but I didn't read that much. I wasn't engrossed in the Image universe. And I was like, okay, so I don't know. And he said, bro, check it out. He goes, it's one of the sickest comic books you will ever read. So I purchased a few issues. I got hooked and I started collecting. So I went to the comic book store and I purchased around 20 to 25 back issues. And I started to read, right to issue 144, which was the final issue. Side note, I still need to read the first arc, which I'm literally going to buy, as we see right here, being the Invincible Companion, which is about 38 pounds. And it's the first big compendium. It's about that big, 1,000 pages. So I'm going to get caught up on just reading the beginning. And I was hooked. It's such an amazing read, and I recommend everyone to try it, to just pick it up, because it's such a dope read. And of course, you get the substance of the characters and so forth. You understand what you're hearing, you're seeing when you see certain movements, certain expressions, themes and so forth. So it puts you in touch with that particular form and energy of the comics into, of course, story told, of course, into series. So, I mean, there's so much about the show there's so much about the show that I'm excited for. I'm thinking, are they going to change up the bit where Omni-Man, kills, or Omni-Man basically is, we all know Omni-Man basically is the one that tries to take over the world, which is Mark's dad. Are they going to have that in there? Are they going to twist it up? Who knows? It's going to be very, very interesting how they pretty much do it. But overall, from seeing that teaser trailer, I was like, yeah. And when I saw the blood and the guts, I was like, the blood a little teaser of that, I was like, this is kind of sick. And going back again to Mark, Mark it's funny because what's really cool about Invincible, Mark lives in a universe that's filled with superheroes. So he's trying to find his footing in. When he joins, is it? I forgot their names. Guardians of the Globe. I forgot their names, but they're a bunch of superheroes pretty much that Mark actually joins, and he starts to fight with them against other villains and so forth. And it's just really cool. One of my favorite characters in Invincible, which they've confirmed they're gonna have in the TV show, is this guy. So this guy is Battle Beast. Like, he is probably one of the illest fighters that you've ever pretty much seen in Invincible. Like, he's just hard. He's just hard. He's a hard guy, man. I mean, he's hard to beat, and he's a well put together character. I really enjoyed, basically, literally enjoyed him in the comics. I enjoyed all of the characters, and it's pretty cool. It's nice. It's so cool to see how Mark pretty much gets recruited for missions in the comics, and I hope they actually have that in the show. I think what I'm gonna do is the show comes out next year, 2021. I'm gonna buy, like, even though I've got the comics, I'm gonna buy probably all the compendiums, volume 1, 2, and 3, and just read all of them straight up, man, and just so I can get so I can remember, basically, because there's a lot of characters to take in and so forth. But it's a really well put together show. It's emotional, it's gritty, it's intense. I don't know, you know, it's one thing that I was thinking, if they're gonna include a lot of sexual content in there, because there are some scenes in the comics that are kind of sexual. So I was thinking, will they put that in there? Apart from that, I know there's going to be drama, it's going to be gritty, it's going to be intense, it's going to be bloody, it's going to be fun, it's going to be comedic. He kind of like reminds me, Mark Grayson reminds me, like, pardon me, of Peter Parker in the old school comics. He's very light hearted, kind of shy, and it's just cool. And the dopest thing is, it's like, you know, you're seeing Mark at a young age, you know, coming into his powers. And it's interesting to see how he deals with his powers, you know. As you know, Superman was trained, of course. He went through the trials of becoming he went through the trials and became the Man of Steel. And Invincible it's really cool to see him in the comics, just going through his transition of, you know, welcoming his powers and just really just go and just accepting who he is and finding out who he is. So it's nice. It's nice. So I'm very excited about the show. I can't wait. It is one of my favorite comic books. If you know me and you've spoken to me about comics, I'll always recommend any single person that I meet and they speak to me about comics, I will always say Invincible is a must read. It's such an amazing read. It's a dope read. One of my favorite comic books. Repeating myself, but I hope Robert Kirkman brings the universe back. And hopefully after this TV show, when this TV show is airing, we might hear pretty much an announcement of the comics coming back, because it's just an amazing show. It's so, I mean, I keep saying show, just an amazing comic book, and I really feel that people would really love reading it, like 100%. So with that being said, everyone, boys and girls, I guess my question to you is, what did you think of the trailer? Are you a fan of Invincible? Have you heard of it? Do you read the comics? Or did you just come across this video by chance and now you've seen the trailer and now you're gonna watch the show, but not really the of course the what do you call it? But not read the comics? Or are you just so gassed and happy that you just can't wait basically to watch the series in regards to you've seen the comics and you're so excited? So what are your thoughts in general on all of that I just said basically? Let me know your questions down below and let me know. Is there anything else? I'm trying to think if there's anything that I've missed out basically in regards to Invincible. No, I don't think that's pretty much it. I think what I will be doing though is when the show comes out, I will be literally doing I might just do just daily reviews on each episode as it comes out, or I don't know. Actually, they might just release. No, if it's Amazon, though, they release all of them, right? I think. I'm not too sure. Like, I've never used Amazon TV or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what it's called. You know, for me, it's just Netflix. You know, I'm trying to say. So, when however the show comes out, I'll be doing over I guess reviews on each episode or one. I don't know, but I'm looking forward to doing it. I think I might do in podcast form or video form. Who knows? Anyways, beautiful people, that's my thoughts on Invincible. It's gritty, it's intense, it's emotional, there's drama in there. It's It's a very good, very, 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 very good comic book. A sick, dope comic book, and I recommend everyone to read all 144 issues. Of course, if you can't buy all the singlets, because obviously they're expensive now, get the graphic novels, the small ones, or just blatantly get the big compendiums, which are about this, probably like that thick, like over that. I think each one is like what, over 1,000 pages, give or take, and then you can just read the whole thing. That's it. The best part of the comics was the Vulturite War. The Vulturite War was gritty, man. The Vulturite War was insane. It was just gritty, dark. It was a total bloodfest in the comics. Like that part, that is literally the best arc in the comics. It was complete bloodshed. You think like World War Hulk and Planet Hulk was intense and stuff. Trust me, the Vulturite War was just the beef in there. The fighting, the blood, the guts, the intestines coming out, people's heads getting ripped off, people's like chests getting blown up, you know, like it's insane. And that's one of the best arcs I've read. And that's one thing I like about Invincible. When they punch you, you're getting a fist through the head. You're getting your brain ripped out. You're getting your heart destroyed. They're putting like your fist through, you know, like they make physical contact with you and they punch you up and they mean it, you're dead. And that's the thing. They're indestructible. They're pretty much indestructible. Obviously, they have a weakness, but that's for another video. And that's something that was pretty cool in the comics because it kind of made sense for them to have a weakness, the Vultramites. But it's really good. And that's the one thing I love about the comics. It's like when they punched you up, you literally were dead. You were dead. There was no way back. No way back. Period. It was literally just so sick, man. Like, I really can't wait for the comics to come back because I think they will eventually. The show, definitely. With that being said, beautiful people. With that being said, YouTube, podcast, IGTV. Massive, and of course some of these videos are going to be on TikTok. You know how we do the little micro content. Shout out to Gary V. Cut, snip, 15 to 60 seconds on the TikTok, and of course the reels. Yo, Invincible, check it out. Of course, peace out. If you've watched this at the end, subscribe, follow, hit the YouTube thumbs up button, IGTV, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Follow me, podcast Massive. What up, ladies? I know how you're listening to my voice thinking, oh, this guy's kind of sick. Oh, we like his voice. Thank you. I like my voice. And that's actually something very, very rare. You know, most people you meet on the streets or you know, they hate the sound of their own voice. I love the sound of my own voice. Sounds nice, soft, nice. Get me? A little bit like Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds. Not really, but you know what I'm trying to say. I love my voice. I love everything about me. Anyways, peeps, over 22 minutes long. Out, gone. Catch everyone in the bit. Catch you tomorrow with a brand new video. Peace out.